Hello, hello. This is Carrie Connick, the CEO of Inspire Fire, helping small business and growth stage brands rebrand to expand or elevate the brand in order to grow their businesses. So today I want to come to you, talk a little bit about exactly how to evaluate or how to determine if and when making a brand shift is the next move for your growth strategy. You can either elevate your brand, you can transform your brand, you can completely renovate your brand. And so what are the distinctions and how should you evaluate it? The very first thing we ask is, what is the business case for the edit, for the modification? Because let's face it, it's completely disruptive. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes your mind share, it takes your team, and it affects every single piece of communication, both physical and digital, that you use to communicate with the market, with media, with your prospective clients, sales, fulfillment, everything. So it's a bit of a pita, a pain in the butt, right? So it's not something to do just because you think it would be a good thing to do. It's a process that what's going to affect you internally as well as externally. So the very first thing we say is, what's the business case? What's happening in the market? Are you seeing a shift in who is resonating with your brand? Are you seeing a shift or a downturn in sales? Are you looking to swing into a new arena or grow in your category and you're not getting any traction? Your sales team is not closing enough business. That would be a market indicator, right? So there's a few things that can evaluate what's happening there or why, right? So the very first thing would be looking at the numbers associated with that pivot, making a pivot. Is there good financial support to go ahead and make that decision? Because it's absolutely one of those small hinges that can move and swing a really big door, literally kick a door open into a whole new arena with just some brand modification. Okay, so if you've done that work, as a brand consultancy, we're not often confused anymore with a digital branding, digital marketing firm, and we're not being compared on price. We're not commoditized anymore. Those are the things we were starting to experience in our own brand after 7 years as Brandscape Atelier. So when we have the business case for making the shift, and we went for a full-out rebrand to expand, we changed our name. We changed everything. And what we really did is we brought the core of our business to the forefront of our business. We actually niched down and got very, very clear and let the other stuff fall away. Instead of being, broad, we dialed down into the thing that we are most unique at, our differentiator, which is leveraging emotional connection for digital brands and online brands. Specifically, and most focused on B2C, where our customers are businesses, mostly small businesses growing. So we were really clear that Brandscape Atelier didn't convey any of that. Okay, so these are some tips for you about how to evaluate if it's time. Is that the next right move? Because you've been trying other things and you're not getting traction. That's a pretty decent indicator that there's an incongruence somewhere. So when you've established that business case, like, yeah, we need to do this because we no longer resonate, or then number one thing could be that you're just simply incongruent with what you're doing now. You grew, or your services shifted or grew with your client base. And so what's your brand conveys and what it conveys emotionally, what it stirs in your audience, is totally incongruent with what you're actually doing. That's a dead ringer for needing some modification. And whether that's a brand elevation of language and messaging so you can tune that back in, like a tune-up, or a complete transformation would be something that you need to look at. I can give you some examples of a complete transformation. But if the business name is solid and it's okay, and it will grow with you over the next 5-10 years, the name might not need to get looked at all. It's more about the bold brand voice and the brand messages that are now going to resonate with the audience about those services or products that you deliver and the customer experience that you provide. Really dialing into that more and more so now. One thing is you could have outgrown your message, right? So I just explained like a pivot. You kind of shifted with the client base, and now you're sort of find yourself over here. Like, let's say you thought you were a copywriter, and actually you're creating marketing communication programs and systems to raise money for higher education, right? So that's really dialing into a niche and finding great success and wanting to just modify your communication and your brand messaging and the brand experience to better communicate that and better resonate. The other piece is that you look commoditized. You know, what you thought what you were doing was innovative when you first started, or you didn't even think about it that way. And you turn around and you wake up the next morning and there are 10 other competitors in your space. So you had such a great idea, like meal kit services, right? Premium lifestyle, digital delivery services like Blue Apron or Purple Carrot, right? It was disruptive about 48 hours before. And they wake up and there's, a plethora of choice. There's a problem because you've gone like overnight from being a category leader to a commodity, and that you don't differentiate at all. You absolutely need to do some brand modification with that, because that is just a downward spiral of eroding your market share or your customer base. Your customers will defect if they can't feel what you stand for, if they can feel what your values are and the customer experience that you're going to deliver, promise, deliver, and even surprise them with. If that's not happening, that absolutely needs to get done. Also, another version of commoditization is when you're starting to get compared to, quote, industry competitors that may or may not be industry competitors, and you're starting to be compared on price, right? That means like you're not demonstrating enough value, and you're not, emerging as a category of one. You're looking like the rest of the guys. So like digital marketing agencies, they're now a dime a dozen. You can throw a dime in a well and hit 10 of them, right? So that's not where you want to be. So you want to figure out, yes, you can be a digital marketing agency, but you really want to dial into why, you, where, for who, so that you deliver what emotional solution for your target audience, then get that messaging onto your website and into your brand voice, and then you'll start to emerge as a category leader once again. Another example here for elevation is to adapt to the market. What I've shared already about, competitors popping up overnight, or your target audience over time has shifted, right? Their values have shifted. Maybe the audience demographically and psychographically are younger. If you're having more millennials, you're absolutely being evaluated on what you stand for and where you put your money. Your customer base is across this board. This is true, that we're voting more with our wallet every day, right? So we're doing research about where the companies that we support, what they vote for, what they are involved in. And if we don't align to those values, we're not going to shop there. We're going to pull our dollars. I do that every day. Even when I need something and I know that place has it, I will still boycott shopping there. So that's all about elevation and the level of refinement or tuning up or calibrating your brand. The next area is really whether or not you need a complete gut job. You need a renovation, like a kitchen renovation and a bath renovation. It's funny, sometimes people say, well, what's it going to cost? It's like, well, what is a serious renovation that's going to change everything about the experience of that kitchen or bath? And that can be done sort of DIY and like a flip sort of contractor level, or that can be done very high end using luxurious lifestyle plumbing products. So the budgets are wide, but a renovation is gutting what's there and rebranding to expand. So that could be a brand transformation or a rebrand to expand. When we work with our customers, the biggest reason we do a brand rebrand, one is you have one business, you start out with one brand, and then you're doing three different things, and you've created three different brands, and that's chaotic. And it's time to consolidate that into one brand. Maybe all three of them are successful, and there needs to be sort of a papa or a mama umbrella brand, so all of those can go under one roof. And the reason is, your brand, you'll be known for one thing at the umbrella, most high level architecture level. You'll be known for one thing, whether it's innovation or creativity, and you'll be known for the emotion that you deliver, no matter what you're doing. Like, you might have been a photographer, and now you're doing video, and now you're staging experiences on stages, world stages, right? But what you do and how you approach all of those different things are the same, but you set them out to be separate little businesses, almost like test pilots, right? They're proof of concept, and now they're all good, and now it's time to roll them up. We see this even on an iconic scale when we see Kinko's, and what they did, it became FedEx Office. Okay, so on a grand scale, there's consolidation, and it's brand expansion. It's building a bigger brand and a bigger value in the brand, but it's brand expansion. Okay, and the opposite is the other time that we often get called, in that there's one brand, it's done very, very well, and it's time to grow a platform and actually create a foundation, separate businesses that support the overall brand platform, right? We just did that recently for a financial services organization. And the brand vision, the brand expansion, was to go from one to many, to go to five, to support what that leader wanted to see happen in the world, what he wanted to be responsible for, and leave his legacy of making an impact in these categories. So we looked at the brand strategy, we architected like an expansion into 5 distinct properties and platforms that all rolled up into what the brand will stand for. So there was a rebrand as well. There's different names now to some of the entities, but the leader has emerged as a thought leader that has a holding company that stands over all of those properties. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's either that it's time for you to branch out. We have a new engagement that we're working on now where there's a really solid, wonderful, monetized, revenue-driving brand, and it's time to sort of change the architecture of how that business is structured and that brand works in the world, so that leader can start something else in tandem that is more of a calling or a passion project, but it's really their next level of impact in the world, right? I hope this was helpful, and you really want to evaluate for yourself. Is there a business case? Are there market conditions? Are your salespeople leaving or not closing? Is there competitors cropping up, and do you not look differentiated? Or is it simply completely incongruent with what you're doing now and what you stand for, and it's just not there, right? We get that a lot where the messaging is just not there. Talk to you soon.